Everyone, welcome back. So today we're going to talk about rent-to-rent, lease options, how to get your first deal and how much it will cost. So from my experience, I'm studying my first ever lease option deal. It did start out as a rent-to-rent, or that's how we started the conversation. But then having the armour, having the toolkit of knowing all the strategies, I realised there was an opportunity for me to get this cheaper and also get a long-term better deal for myself. So we just started to discuss lease options with the vendor who was struggling. They didn't want to be a landlord. There's plenty of people who become accidental landlords and they don't want to become landlords. You know, they don't like the idea of tenants. They don't like managing other people. They feel financially they couldn't cope if they had empty properties. And that's pretty much the story with this one. And as well as this property had been quite heavily damaged and some rent arrears had built up. So, you know, it was financially impacting the vendors. So I saw the opportunity for a lease option here, even though initially I was looking at maybe renting the place. And by taking that into a lease option, I decided to spend a bit more money on it than I would normally on a rent-to-rent deal. But rent-to-rent lease options, they kind of fall in the same bracket. What we're basically trying to do here is solve problems for landlords. Now, you know, I talk about this all the time, but you know, typically landlords are struggling with voids. They become accidental landlords and they don't necessarily, you know, want the properties. Or maybe they're a bit, you know, mature landlords with portfolios and they're not really bothered how the properties are run. You know, so whether you want to uplift them with service accommodation or you want to uplift them with HMO type strategies, they're quite comfortable with that, you know, and that's fine. So you've just got to try and find the right landlords. And what you basically need to be doing is asking as many questions as you can, opening as many conversations as you can across all the major platforms. You know, we've got Spare Room, we've got Open Rent, we've got Rightmove, we've got estate agents, we've got Facebook groups, Facebook Marketplace, LinkedIn. You know, there's so many places that you can find people to have conversations with that have properties, but you've just got to put the effort into getting there. Now, setup wise, cheapest rent-to-rent deal I've ever done is about £400, which was just a simple smart TV and some duvets, cushions, etc. for the bedrooms. And the most expensive was £8,000, which was pretty much, you know, a new kitchen, bathrooms, carpet and decoration. Now, in exchange for that, obviously I got several months rent free. I was confident I could earn that money back, and we did just that. And therefore we then profited after month 4 and you know, that is a 5-year agreement that we've got. So, you know, we're gonna make some good money from that. We have made good money from that property, and you know, it serves us well, even though we spent money on the refurb. Would I do it again? Not so sure, in all honesty. I think great learning experience, but really the property wasn't in the best of condition, and as time's passing through, it's wearing again and we may need to spend more money on it. On the flip side, it has been a very good rental for us because it was a large property. So, you know, had some great contractor stays in there and some very large bookings. We get some large summer family bookings and over the sort of Christmas breaks and things like that as well. So monetary wise, yes. Depending on where I was in my journey, would I do it again? I think I was very enthusiastic at the time, which is why I took it on. If I knew what I knew now, I would probably just look for a different opportunity. But then I do have the connections now to find more property. Whereas at the beginning, you kind of want to take every deal on that you can. So I'm probably 50-50 on whether I would do it again. I think case by case basis, but it's done as well for the profit side of things. I probably got, I wouldn't say lucky, I think you make your own luck, but had it not worked, then it would have been a financial disaster. So you've got to be a lot more confident on the figures than I probably was back then. I probably took more of a punt on it and got away with it, rather than, you know, an educated and logical numbers sort of driven decision, should we say. So very easy to get caught up in all that if you haven't got the experience. And that's why, you know, there's plenty of people you can ask for help. Feel free to drop me any deals that you do have. Just ping me a DM on Instagram and we can have a look at that. Official Ryan Luke on Instagram. I'm more than happy to run deal analysis. I've saved plenty of people tens of thousands from getting into bad deals by a quick snapshot. It's really important that, you know, as you know, are at the beginning of your journey, that you lean on experienced people. That's one thing that, you know, I did, ask the right questions to the right people, and I think that's just as important as finding deals. So, so rent-to-rent, great strategy. In essence, if you don't, you know, fully understand it, you take the property from a landlord, you're then going to use it as service accommodation. So we are in one of my SA properties right now, which is a 1-bed flat, my very first one, in fact, and you know, we kitted this out. And you know, new carpets, new bathroom, But more to the point, double sofa bed in all the rooms. Sofa bed's a key. It gives you that maximum occupancy. This is only 1 bed flat, but it sleeps 4 people. It's got enough space for 4 people, and it rents out incredibly well. We will do circa 15 to 1600 quid on average a month from this property, and in the peak seasons, we can be pushing £2,000. This 1 bed flat would rent out for about £500 a month. So incredible uplift on using it in a different strategy, and that's where rent to rent can really come into play. Now, not all rent to rent deals work if you get the rent wrong. If you'd paid 800-900 quid rent for this flat, and in the low seasons you're going to end up losing money by the time you factor in your costs, your business rates, your utilities, all that sort of stuff, and you'll make a bit in the high season. You will probably still make a bit of money over the long term, but really having that extra margin and making sure that will get there below market value rent, a long-term contract, and the property doesn't need much maintenance. That's the main thing. In this particular property, I refurbed it in day one. I actually haven't been back in this property since that. So several years later, walked in here not knowing what to expect. And, apart from, a bit of damage on the walls, which is natural with serviced accommodation units, people are not as respectful when they're leaving and coming in and out with their bags. You do pick up scuffs on the walls, but all in all, quite pleased with the condition and how this has stayed, and I feel like this has still got a lot of longevity left in the refurbishment. May decorate it towards the end of this year, but the cost of that is minimal compared to the uplift in the profit that we've had from running it. So it's always important to keep on top of your properties, keep an eye on them, make sure you know what's going on with them, and and take feedback from the guests. So the guests will tell you this property, we actually only carpeted the bedroom when we first started. It had nice varnished wood floors, which kind of matched the character of the property, sort of an old 1940s style Tyneside flat, so it really matched the characteristics of the property. And we were in two minds. I wanted to do it. The builder I was working with at the time, they basically said they loved it and the character of it and it matched, so we decided to leave it. But the guests started telling us that there was the wood floor started to put them off. It felt cold. It didn't feel homely. There's a few chips in some of the wood floor, so we decided to carpet it. And since then, the reviews lifted up. So really important as you go through your journey that you do listen to your guests and what they're saying. And little things as well, like we would put UHT milk in the fridge, and for the guests and the cleaners, they tell us that it never gets used. So stop buying that. So listen to feedback from external sources. It doesn't mean you have to come in to visit the property all the time. You should have your eyes and ears on the ground through your cleaners and through your guests, and then take action from that to be constantly improving and constantly making a difference in all the properties. So if you are enjoying these videos, as always, hit the like button and don't forget to comment. I replied to all the comments personally. So any questions you've got, please feel free to ask. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and more importantly, hit the bell notification, because that gives you an alert every time we put a new video out, and we're putting content out all the time. So that's it for now. That's the rent to rent journey. That's how you can get started. Hope it helps, and I'll speak to you soon.